So, welcome to the Royal Academy of Art Summer Exhibition, the largest open art exhibition in the world. Looking around, you'd imagine that landscapes are a very popular part of the summer exhibition, but it hasn't always been like that. Up until 100 years ago, landscapes were seen as rather unimportant, as merely the background to painted gods and goddesses. And in fact, bizarrely, even Constable's Haywain failed to sell when it was exhibited here in 1821. Now, of course, these days, you'd put a price tag of in excess of £20 million if it ever came onto the market. But there are few landscape painters working today that are as dedicated to embracing the great outdoors as Rob Perry. And he flies the flag for all of those landscape painters out there that are prepared to put their art ahead of their comfort zone.
I always pack all my equipment up on the bench before I load the van. It's all equipment which I adapt. This is my backpack, and as you can see, it's got a scuba diver tank in there full of compressed air, which I use to power the airbrushes. Now this is the very large field easel, made out of aluminium section, and I always say I've got enough aluminium here to build a Boeing 747.
For Rob Perry, painting is an adventure. He studied art in his native Stourbridge, but with a family to provide for, decided that teaching was a more reliable option. He never stopped painting though, even when he had 3 children to raise on his own. Then in 1993, with the kids grown up, he packed in the job, packed up his trusty van and set off painting his way across Europe. It's February, and Rob's heading for the Scottish Highlands, hoping to bring back 3 works for this year's summer exhibition.
Well now, there's a sight. They're all very curious. I submitted a drawing in 1981 which was accepted and hung. And then for the next unbroken 20 years I submitted work, but I never had another painting hung in the Academy from that day to this.
Rob's given himself 2 weeks living in his van to paint something good enough to get in this year.
It's been raining very heavily overnight, and the river close by where I'm parked up has turned into an absolute raging torrent. So it's not looking very conducive to my production as a painter. So I will just have to try and find some way of improvising, using the van itself as some kind of a shelter. Well, what fun. A sudden gust of very strong winds brought the whole damn lot down. Oh well, I'll try and rig it back up again.
After 10 days of cold, wet weather, and with only 4 days of his trip left, the sun's finally broken through the gloom.
I do all my work in one single session. I'm going to start by just laying in the main dark masses. The techniques that I'm developing or evolving in my oil painting in a way owe more to watercolour than oils. I use my paint very, very fluidly. I just say that all my work is a direct response to the landscape. You've got to kind of devise means of summarising what you see very, very quickly. I'm going to keep this painting fairly well under work because I want to get this impression of the sun, which is absolutely blinding you, reflecting up on the stream there. Now also when I'm spraying, I'll sometimes use found objects to act as little masks. You know, I'll then hold that against the board. You know, I mean, you can't get a more of a direct response to the landscape than actually using part of the landscape to paint with. Somehow when you sit and draw a landscape, it's not the same as just taking a photograph of it or just glancing at it. you have to really focus on it and try to understand exactly what you're seeing.
Rob is part of a long tradition of landscape painters like Turner, Constable and Prince Charles. What's less traditional is painting outdoors in the wet and the cold and the dark. But for this year he's decided it's important to pull out all of the stops.
I've always liked Rembrandt, of course, and Rembrandt was very much the master of chiaroscuro and having the face lit up in a dark background or very dramatic light. I'm just interested in the exaggerated contrast between the lit areas and the dark areas, and also the mystery of it. Ooh, it doesn't like going over this ice very much. I'm having to scrub it through it. It's a bit like paste combing, really. In a way, I'm sort of aiming to produce an abstract painting, but I'm using that as my source material. My mother always says, I don't know why you don't just take a photograph and do it at home in comfort.
For the artists, the tough bit is creating the work, but for the organisers, the action really kicked off earlier this year when artists from all over the country, accompanied by their 8,000 works of art, descended on London. Among them is Rob Perry, our landscape artist from Stourbridge, who's left nothing to chance.
Yes, I drove down overnight and I arrived here at about 4:05 this morning.
He's submitting 2 of the big oil landscapes he painted in sub-zero temperatures in January, with more frost than paint on his canvas.
I must admit.
Having been accepted once in 1981, he's hoping that these new paintings will break his run of 20 consecutive rejections from the summer show. Rob Perry's a stickler for paperwork, and because the process has been computerised in recent years, he's in and out without much fuss. After 20 years of rejection, will this be his year?
Well, just wait to get the reply through the post next, I suppose. You just keep your fingers crossed and that's it.
Rob,
Hi.
I've just delivered mine.
Have you?
Have you done yours?
Oh, yes.
What are you going to do now then? Wait in your van.
What for the result? Hardly.
So, did our adventurous landscape painter Rob Perry make it through selection? He's about to open his summer exhibition letter and find out. Will he finally break his 20-year run of rejections?
Thank you for entering this year's summer exhibition. With over 9,000 entries, the competition was extremely strong. On this occasion, I am sorry to inform you that your 3 works were not accepted for exhibition. So I've managed to retain my 20-year unbroken record of rejections. It's not exactly amusing, but I mean, I'm not. I just shrug my shoulders and think, well, there it is. There's next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and as long as I can keep doing my painting, I'm not really too worried.